Okay then. So we've got 18 seconds till we get going. Okay, here we go then. Off we go. Evening everyone. Hope you're all okay. So if this is your first session with us, my name's Rich. I'm the founder and head coach of RIAK Fitness. Now we're ostensibly a triathlon coaching outfit and cycling coaching outfit. But we also run these free online sessions. This is the week 1 of our Discovery series. So if you probably read all the blurb, etc., but basically the point of these sessions, guys, is to help you guys kind of figure out who you are and who you are as a rider. Nothing more kind of existential than that, I'm afraid. Just learning about your strengths and your weaknesses as a rider, and where as a result you might want to focus your training. Okay, so that's kind of our goal with these sessions. Okay, so with that in mind, this first session we're starting off with an FTP test. Now, before people start getting worried, don't stress. Okay, if you've not come here for an FTP test, I've got a second option for you. But FTP tests, when you're trying to discover something about yourself, that's kind of the key metric. And I'll be talking about FTP, what it means, how you use it. But just quickly to say that on our website and on the RGT blog as well, there is a more thorough article on FTP, what it is, kind of what goes into it, how you can improve it, etc. So head to our website, to the training articles page, or you can go to the RGT blog and you'll have a much more in-depth description. But for now, guys, as you can see, it's pretty relaxed. We've got a 15-minute build, slightly longer because it's a test. We've got those 3 fast pedaling efforts, got then a nice little cruise section before we hit those 3 sort of big spikes in the middle. They're just primer efforts to get you going. And then we've got 1 little cruise before we get into the FTP test. Okay. So, just a quick reminder, these sessions are interactive. So if you've got any questions at any point, my suggestion would be to use the RGT chat feed. I'm more likely to pick that up because that screen is kind of what I have dead ahead of me. Otherwise, do feel free on Zoom, if you're one of the guys on Zoom, to unmute yourself and ask away. Honestly, we really want these sessions to be kind of what you need. So just a little bit more about the Discovery series though. We're starting off with this FTP test in session 1. And then basically, guys, we're testing you. Sorry, testing you isn't the right word because everyone gets scared when you say the word test. We're assessing you in a variety of different ways. So we've got time trial sets, we've got hill reps, we've got anaerobic sets, VO2 sets, etc., etc. And the goal is that by the end of this 12-session series, you'll have a really clear idea of where your strengths and weaknesses lie. And then it'll just be this a relatively simple job of kind of focusing your training to improve in whichever areas you deem necessary. Of course, we're always here to help, so always feel free to get in touch. You can email us at info@riak.fitness or get in touch on social media, whatever is your method of choice. But back to tonight's session. So I promised you guys that if you're not in the right state of mind for an FTP test, that's okay. What I would suggest you do is once we got through all the primer efforts and we get to that final 20 minute FTP test, I'd suggest before you get there, you turn your FTP down on RGT or whichever platform you're using by about 10%, so that actually that 20-minute effort becomes a lovely 20-minute sweet spot effort, which is an effort that's just underneath your threshold but you can hold for a considerably longer time. So in terms of like the physiological demands, it'll be much less hellish and actually a really good training set. So that's just in case you're doing this session and you're perhaps not on board emotionally and physically with subjecting yourself to an FTP test. For those of you guys that are here for the suffering together session, I've got plenty of tips for you to get through your FTP test. We will be turning erg mode off, okay? Once we get through the warm-up and the primer sets, before we get to that assessment, with plenty of time before we get to that assessment, we'll be turning erg mode off. If you're not familiar how to do this, go into the sensor settings on RGT or whichever platform you're using, and there'll be an erg tab, and you're going to want to turn that off. Okay? Not now, but when we get to that assessment. Just going to respond to message on RGT very quickly. So just a quick FYI, you guys will obviously know this, but for anyone else that's watching or listening, you can sign up to these sessions via our website and we send all the joining links, or the link should be accessible through the description in the RGT app, or as Matt's just done. If you're ever unsure, just drop us a line and we'll get you involved. So guys, talking a little bit about FTP in this session. So what is it? Well, your FTP is your functional threshold power, which basically means it's an attempt to isolate your aerobic threshold. What's your aerobic threshold, I hear you ask? Well, no one says anything. Everyone's muted, but basically your aerobic threshold is the tipping point at which your body can no longer consume enough oxygen to recycle the build-up of lactate in your muscles and to buffer the concentration of hydrogen ions, both of which are responsible for the build-up of fatigue and that general suffering when you go into a high-intensity set. Okay, so that's the definition of your FTP, if you're looking for one to repeat to your mates. There are various versions of that description. But basically, guys, by raising your FTP, by improving your FTP, you get fitter. Just as like a loose kind of definition. So you're basically raising the power output at which that tipping point, that aerobic threshold is reached. You're becoming stronger and more efficient at using oxygen, essentially. And this can involve a whole host of really cool physiological adaptations. Just to go through a couple, I'm not going to bore you with the whole list because it's a long list, but basically there's all kinds of things like increased capillarization around your muscles so that you can get oxygen, fuel and clear away waste products much more quickly. Increased cardiac output, which is basically your heart can pump more blood per beat, and then more efficient neuromuscular function. So a lot of adaptation, guys, actually comes from just your mind and your muscles working more in sync with one another, which I always think is quite cool. You basically just become more coordinated, and your muscles just move with kind of more instinct and more quickly with that instinct. So those are just a few of the adaptations that you can experience. Okay. So those are just a couple of things that are going on in your body as you get fitter. So basically what we're doing tonight is we're setting ourselves a benchmark. That is our goal. And we can use that benchmark in, say, like another 12 weeks time or so to test ourselves and see how we've improved. I'll be talking a little bit about your FTP and how it changes. But for now, we've got about 2.5 minutes left of this penultimate step in the warm-up. So I just want you to just take a moment to relax, get some more fluids on board, and just chill out a little bit. Okay. Okay, just forgive me for 1 second, guys. Got various bits of tech going on at the same time. Right. Okay, so as I was saying, your FTP, whilst it's an attempt to put a number on that aerobic threshold, in reality your FTP changes on a daily basis. It changes according to all kinds of things. Yeah, how well you slept, how much caffeine you've had, accrued fatigue, whole host of different reasons that your FTP can change on a daily basis. And so it's important to recognize this, but also just generally recognize that it's not a static number. Actually, what we're trying to do with an FTP test is find a power range, a range in which your aerobic threshold kind of tips over, takes on water and eventually goes over into more and more of an anaerobic state. And so, that what we're trying to do is we're trying to get that number, yes, but it's also the range around that number that really matters, and that's called zone 4. If anyone uses power zones or training zones, that's zone 4 that we're using. Okay. By the way, guys, I'm checking my phone. It's not because I'm just texting away or getting bored. It's just got someone checking that the live feeders were working. Okay. So zone 4, that's where your FTP sits. And so we're talking somewhere between 91 and 100%, 105%, sorry, of that FTP. So 91 and 105% of FTP. That's zone 4. That's where your aerobic threshold will sit. It's not necessarily a specific number within that on a day-to-day basis. So whilst your FTP, excuse me, is not quite the median of this range, it does pretty much sit in the middle. So when you go beyond 105% of FTP, you begin to shift into zone 5, which is your VO2 max power range. Okay, and then you'll begin working increasingly anaerobically. And because your FTP changes, it's important, therefore, to make sure that, albeit we're trying to put a specific number on it, that number is as accurate as possible, and is up to date, which I will talk about once we get through these fast pedaling efforts. But just quickly, in terms of how regularly you want to test, say every 8 to 12 weeks. Okay? So if you're doing this tonight, or doing this FTP session in your own time, schedule another one in for about 8 to 12 weeks. Maybe 12 weeks. Be kind to yourself. But just coming back to the session now, we've got 2 minutes until we crack into those fast pedaling efforts. So they're going to go up to around 80% of FTP. I'm just going to encourage you to spin up your legs upwards of 100 RPM and just generally kind of weight your legs up and get yourself going. Just remember to keep the fluids coming on board. We want to try and stay hydrated all the way through the warm-up and the primer set so that we're nicely hydrated for when we get into that assessment. Okay, everyone all right so far? Hopefully. Okay, good. Do remember, if you've got any questions at any point, guys, do just shout. Always here to answer anything. Right. So let's start to get focused now. We've got just over 50 seconds before we hit that first fast pedaling effort. So your leg speed for now should be upwards of around 80 RPM. Make sure you're above that baseline, and let's get ready. So the goal with these fast pedaling efforts is to lift that default cadence. That's our goal. So we're going to be going uncomfortably fast with the leg speed but it's just to raise that default cadence. So you're pedaling nice and efficiently, and you've got your fast twitch muscle fibers all switched on. Okay, so on my clock, I've got 15 seconds till we hit that first fast pedaling effort. Let's get ready to go then, guys. Here we go then. 3, 2, 1. Here we go then, guys. Let's spin up those legs. Okay, so the target on the screen is going to be around 110, but let's just start by at least getting over the 100 RPM mark for this set, this little interval. So we're at about 80% of FTP. That's zone 3, if anyone is interested and uses those power zones. Just keep it on going, guys. Keep it going. Keep those legs revving up. Over halfway, got about 25 seconds of fast pedaling to go. Just soften the elbows, relaxing the upper body. Try to avoid bouncing up and down. About 15 seconds left. Nearly there, 10. All the way to the end, guys. Last few seconds, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Well done. Okay. So we've got 2 more of those to go, followed by a nice easy cruise period where we'll be at zone 2. So way below that aerobic threshold. And just remember, guys, I will be asking you to turn erg mode off. And just remember, guys, if you're not here for an FTP test, then you will need to take about 10% off your FTP after we get through the primer sets, which are the second block of 3 spikes right in the middle. All right. So if you're wondering, doing that FTP test in erg mode is not going to help you, okay? Because all that's going to do is give you an FTP which is exactly the same as the one that you've got. So you're going to need to turn off erg mode before we get to that assessment. You've got plenty of time to figure it out. To go to the sensors menu, there's the erg tab at the top. Before we get to messing around with that stuff, let's finish off these fast pedaling efforts though. We're on round 2 now. Just picking up that leg speed. Remembering to relax in the upper body. That's just going to help plant our bum on the saddle and prevent us from bouncing up and down. Good work. Coming up to halfway through. Here we go, 30 seconds to go. So add a couple of RPM onto that leg speed. Come on, guys, you need it there. Keep it going, keep it going. It's your first opportunity to wake yourself up, get those legs going, get focused. Last few seconds. And relax. Well done. Okay, got 1 more of those to go. Then we've got a bit of a cruise period just to relax. Okay, nice and easy, making sure that leg speed's still above about 80 RPM. But let's get ready to go for round 3, about 25 seconds. Okay, nice and steady, guys, let's get ready to go. 3, 2, 1. Okay, round 3 on the fast pedaling efforts. Let's rev it up now. Really get those legs going, lift that default cadence. Softening the elbows and the upper body. Plant that bum on the saddle. It's not something that you just do naturally, you have to keep reminding yourself. But if your bum is planted on the saddle, you're going to get more power out. So remember that one. for the FTP test, trying to stay as relaxed as possible. Keeping that bum planted so your legs can do the work. 20 seconds. Couple of extra RPM on the leg speed, on the cadence just to finish off. 10 seconds, nearly there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, relax now, guys. We've got a nice little period of cruising, so we're back down to zone 2 and about 65% of FTP. So this sort of effort should feel like about a 4 out of 10 effort, 10 being a max sprint. So guys, just following up from what I was talking about earlier, before we got into those fast building efforts, I was saying that your FTP changes a lot, and it's important that you test fairly regularly, 8 to 12 weeks. So it's also important to understand that your FTP can go up, but it can also come down. Okay, and this is a conversation sometimes we have to have with athletes, is that your FTP needs to be reflective of your current state and not necessarily the fitness level that you used to have or the level that you wished it was at. Okay, and there's actually quite a serious point here. It's not just about kind of being objective and, you know, not being overwhelmed by your ego. It's because your training won't actually be the type of training that you want it to be. So, you know, as an example, you'll be potentially training the wrong power zone and working in an anaerobic system that will activate to a degree that you do not want. If you're not looking to train in your anaerobic systems and your FTP is too high, you may well be doing so unconsciously. You know, your FTP is your aerobic threshold, okay, which means the vast majority of the work that you do should be performed in an aerobic state, okay, and that's below that FTP, okay. So if you refuse to put it down, sorry, that sounds like we're kind of the FTP police, but if you're not willing to put it down, if you've had a bit of time off the bike, or you've had been ill or what have you, and, you know, by any reasonable measure your fitness is likely to have dropped. If you're not willing to put it down, then as an example, if you're trying to do a threshold focus session but your FTP is too high, you're effectively going to be doing an anaerobic focus session, and that can have quite significant impact, because that anaerobic session is going to have a greater physiological demand, which means you're going to accrue greater fatigue, and you'll therefore require more recovery from that session than you might otherwise do. And if you do this too many times, you can actually if you train with too high of an FTP for too long and too many times, it genuinely, like all messing around the side, can have a really serious impact on your body. Develop chronic fatigue, which, you know, I don't really like that phrase, because it doesn't actually encompass the gravity of it. Chronic fatigue is basically a complete kind of mashup of your hormonal systems, and, you know, it's just a miserable place to be. You just feel constantly tired, irritable, get headaches potentially. You know, otherwise, if you don't get chronic fatigue, your immune system might get smashed, and, you know, you just get ill, which is at this current time not something you really want to take a risk with. So your FTP is a bit of an honesty call, but it is important that you test it regularly. Otherwise, the only person you're going to be cheating is yourself, really. So that's kind of the end of I'm dropping out of teacher mode now. That got a little bit ranty and a little bit potentially patronizing, so I apologize for that, but I'm just trying to emphasize that doing these tests, they are important, and it's not something you want to put off or keep putting off, okay? Because then when you do come back to training, you might not be doing actually the training that you want to do, okay? So it's important to just kind of, you don't have to tell people your FTP. You can always lie about it if you're really that bothered. I don't think anyone really cares. I know it's like a badge of honor for some people, but someone tells me their FTP, I'm like, I don't care. You know, I'll still race you. Anyway, right, so back to the session. That's the end of my FTP chat. We're here for a purpose, and that's either to train hard or to get this FTP test done. So we've got just about 1 minute and 15 seconds till we hit those primer sets, and as you will see, there's a significant amount of power behind them. So just going to double check what we're dealing with. So yeah, we're going up to 110% of FTP for 30 seconds. So similar to those fast pedaling efforts really, but they just got a bit more juice behind them. So let's get ready to go. Just quick check of your leg speed now. Make sure it's above around 85. Because as you're going into them, they're not sprints. They're just super threshold. But we're still going to want that leg speed to be above 90 at least. Okay? So let's get ourselves prepared and ready to go. 30 seconds. Okay, 20 seconds to go till we hit those primer sets. Let's get ourselves ready then, guys. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go then, guys. Primer set number 1, up to around 110% of FTP. Should feel like a really kind of solid 8, nearly 9 out of 10 effort. This is all about getting that heart rate up, getting you ready to do battle. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Well done. Okay, got a minute in between. 2 more of those to go. The idea behind them is not to knack you out, but don't worry if you are kind of blowing a little bit during them. You've got plenty of time after them to kind of just catch your breath a little bit. But it is important that we kind of go through the gears a little bit. Otherwise, you can get to that FTP test and feel really sluggish. So one thing you might actually want to think about, actually I'll talk about, I'll wait until after this next one. Or I'll just give you my next tip when it comes to FTP testing. Okay, so about, just coming up to 15 seconds. And then we've got round 2 on the primer sets. Okay, ready to go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go then. Round 2. Up to super threshold, about 110% of FTP. Let's get those legs going. So let's get ourselves up well above 90 RPM, probably closer to 100. Really get those legs going again. A few seconds. 3, 2, 1. And relax. Well done. Okay. 1 more of those to go. So my next tip was going to be to don't stress if you've done this, but try not to have a rest day before an FTP test. Treat it like a race. So before a race, you kind of want to do a little bit of training, a primer workout. So there's actually, I think 3 or 4 of our primer workouts in the RGT library, so you can use those absolutely free. I think you might have to be a premium member for RGT to be able to get those workouts. I can't quite remember, but otherwise they're there. So feel free to use those. They're good for use the day before an FTP test or before a race, a big race that is. Okay, so those are there. And the reason for that is it just keeps your glycogen recycling in your muscles. And it just helps you prevent you from feeling sluggish and jaded when it comes to race day or FTP testing. But here we go for round 3 of the primer sets. Let's lift that leg speed well above 90. Remember to relax. Boom. Bring the shoulders down, soften the elbows. Get those legs going. Well over halfway, coming up to around 10 seconds to go. Last few seconds, nearly there. And relax. Well done. Okay, good stuff, guys. So that's the last of the kind of primer stuff before we get going on the assessment. So get the fluids on board, relax, keep that leg speed up above 80 RPM at least, so you're pedaling nice and efficiently, but otherwise, yeah, just relax, guys, okay? So don't be stressed about FTP test. I have to talk to some of our athletes fairly regularly before any kind of test because they get very nervous. Guys, who cares? It's an FTP test. You don't have to tell anyone the result if you don't want to. You know, it's literally about just kind of getting a snapshot of where you are. And the problem with testing is that it is a snapshot, you know, and it depends on the day how you're feeling. All right? So do not stress about it. There's whole kinds of variables that can mess things up or hopefully help you. As we're just going up to zone 2 again now, back up to around 65% of FTP. So just again, make sure that leg speed's above 80. But as I say, do not stress. Okay, and also guys, if things aren't going your way in the tests, don't give up. Okay, even if you're not going to get the kind of result that you want, don't pack it in, because this is your time to train, guys. Don't waste it. Just keep on pushing, keep doing your best, and if it's not going the way that you want, ignore the numbers. Just keep going, because this is still a 20-minute time trial effort. Fantastic training effect from that. Okay, it's going to be really good for building your fitness, even if you're not putting out the kind of numbers that you want to. So do not stress about it, guys. Okay, just do your best. As I say, it is only a snapshot, so you might be on a good day today, you might not, who knows. But do just go, get yourself all the way to the end. Don't bin it just because it's not going the way you want, because it's still training at the end of the day. But likewise, guys, if you're not here for the FTP, if you're not doing this session for the FTP test and instead you want to do a sweet spot set, so this is just for the people that want to do the sweet spot set and not the FTP test. You want to turn your power down by about 10%, and you want to do that now so it's all sorted before we get into that 20-minute effort. For those of you guys that are doing the assessment, you want to turn erg mode off. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm super clear about that. If you're doing the sweet spot time trial, the sweet spot effort, around 90% of FTP, keep erg mode on and turn your power down by about 10%. If you're doing the FTP test, get erg mode off now. Give yourself time to get used to the gearing. So what erg mode is, when you turn erg mode off, what it does is it's then going to start simulating the topography, the gradient of the course, which is Borrego Springs in this instance, and totally flat. There's slight little changes in gradient, which sometimes get you stuck between gears, but generally it's pan flat. Okay, so get that erg mode off now if you're doing the FTP test. Give yourself time to adapt and get your gearing right, and don't stress too much right now about hitting the power target. So you will see that in the actual FTP test, the target is probably above your threshold. Let me just double check that one before I say something. So yeah, so in the power target, it's set at 105% of FTP. If you match 105% the whole of the 20-minute effort, your FTP will be the same, because your FTP is a 20-minute effort times by 0.95. And so if you hit 105%, your FTP is the same. So we want to be getting, well above that in order to improve our FTP. Okay, and that's another reason why you have to turn erg mode off if you're doing the test. So otherwise you're just going to get the same FTP back. Okay, so I'll just say that one more time so hopefully it's very clear. If you're doing the sweet spot time trial, keep erg mode on, but turn your power down by about 10%. If you're doing the FTP test, turn erg mode off and just go for it for 20 minutes, guys. All right, so we've got 90 seconds till we get there. Next top tip, break it up into 5-minute chunks. Okay, 20 minutes is a long time at any kind of effort. So break up into 5-minute chunks. First 5 minutes, build into it. Promise you, it is the best tactic. Build into it, start below your threshold and build, because albeit we've done a nice warm up, you might cool down a little bit with this kind of 5-minute cruising effort. Okay, so build into it. It's better that you finish strong than you go out too hard and die 1,000 deaths in that final 5 minutes. Because I promise you, you will lose more power than if you finish strong. Okay, I promise you that. So first 5 minutes you build, second 5 minutes you look to hold, just hold a constant power. Third 5 minutes you look to build again, and then the fourth 5 minutes you just go for it. Okay guys, so hopefully that's simplified it, and breaking it up in that way does really help. Manages your economies of scale and stops you from thinking too far ahead and getting overwhelmed. Okay, you'll be really surprised how things can change over 20 minutes. And that's both good and bad. So again, if you start off not feeling 100%, you can always pick it up, don't you worry. So here we go then guys, 3, 2, 1, let's go for it. Good luck everyone. I'll be here cheering you on. I'm going to be #1 cheerleader. But let's pick up that leg speed. Let's make sure it's over 90 RPM. You want your cadence to be as consistent as possible through this, because that's going to help your power be consistent. All right, so we're just building through this first 5 minutes. Start below your FTP, allow your legs to switch on, and then we start to build. Okay, good stuff guys, well done. Keep it going. If you're doing the sweet spot, you want your leg speed to be over 90 RPM and you want that leg speed to be consistent. If you're doing the sweet spot time trial, every time you slow your leg speed and then have to speed it back up again, you're going to be wasting energy. So keep it consistent. Same goes for the guys doing the FTP test. You want your leg speed to be nice and consistent, so you're not constantly having to peak and trough with the power and accelerate to bring it back up. You can do this though, guys. You can do this. Okay, we're approaching 2 minutes down. So we should be still in the building process. Just getting ready for it. Building towards the level that we think we can hold. That is the goal with this 20-minute effort. It's the maximum effort that you think you can hold for the full 20 minutes, but you don't have to be there straight away. Two and a half minutes in, you're halfway through that first 5-minute sector. Don't look too far ahead, just think about the next 2 minutes and 20 seconds. And then we move on to the second 5-minute sector, but don't look there yet. Come on guys, you're doing a sterling effort. Keep it going. Just a quick reminder to try and stay as relaxed as possible. So draw the shoulders away from the ears, open the chest up a little bit. It's just going to help you breathe a touch easier. Okay. And another top tip, we're not really bothered about aerodynamics right now, guys. So get your hands in the middle of the bars. Okay, what that's going to do is just lift your chest up a little bit and push your bum further back on the saddle. It's a good climbing position as well. But most importantly, it's going to help you get out a couple of extra watts. Okay? So get into that strong position and let's keep it going. We're nearing the end of that first 5-minute sector. Oh, you did such a great job, guys. Kudos to you for doing this session tonight. Whenever anyone says FTP test, always sends a shudder down your spine. You're the brave few that thought, yeah, I'm doing this. So keep that messaging positive. You're an absolute legend just for doing this session. 20 seconds left for this first 5-minute sector. Okay, here we go. So we should be up to the sort of effort that we think we can hold. Into the second 5 minutes we go. Keep it steady. It's not yet time to really go for it. Keep it nice and steady. This should be an effort that we know we can hold for the next sort of 14.5 minutes or so. Quick check of the leg speed. Keep that leg speed up above about 90 RPM. That's your baseline for this assessment, or for that sweet spot effort, depending on which you're doing. Well done, guys. Just keep feeding in the power. Keep feeding in that positive messaging. So everything going through your head right now should be positive. Even if the legs are screaming, everything needs to be positive. Even if the numbers aren't showing what you want them to, you've still got so much time for those legs to engage and for you to drive it on, okay? So keep it positive. Tell your legs what you want them to do. And that's to absolutely smash those pedals. Liquefy them. Come on, guys, you can do this. Approaching halfway through the second 5-minute sector. Just keep ticking it off like that. Don't look too far ahead. Don't worry if the legs are screaming at you. You're going to have something extra in there, I promise you. If you want it, it's going to be there. That's halfway through this second 5-minute sector, sorry. I can tell I'm getting overexcited. My breathing rate has gone up, so apologies if all you can hear is me heavy breathing. I can't help it. I get a little bit overexcited when I know people are working as hard as you guys are right now. It's good that I don't have a heart rate monitor on right now, otherwise I have to probably give myself a good talking to, tell myself to calm down. I'm with you on this, guys, come on. Okay, we're approaching 1 minute left of this second 5-minute sector. Just remember, guys, if you're really suffering, it's okay to take a few seconds where you just ease you just ease off the power a little bit, and then you go again, okay? This isn't intended to be kind of exponential power production, all right? So if you need it, just take a couple of seconds and then go. Again, we've got 45 until we get halfway. Promise you, when I do these assessments, I do it all the time. I just like say, oh, I'll get to there. Then I'm gonna give myself 5 pedal revolutions that are easier, and then I go again. And you just keep doing that. 30 seconds. So in this third 5-minute sector, we want to try and build a little bit more if we can. We're not talking throwing in an extra 50 watts. We're talking steady build of a couple of watts at a time on that average power. Let's get ready, Con. Afterburner's coming on. 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's lift it then, guys. Just a little bit. You don't have to get out of the saddle like I just did, but just pick it up a little bit. Raise that effort. You can do this. Okay, nearly 1 minute down on this third 5-minute sector. Remember that positive messaging, guys, okay? Just keep on building. Just keep on lifting it a little bit each time. Keep that leg speed nice and smooth. Upwards of 90 RPM, remember. Okay, you're halfway through this third 5-minute sector, 2.5 minutes, and then we really light the match. We light the fuse. So 2.5 minutes of building steadily or just keeping it constant, not letting off the gas. And then we're going to pick it up for the final time. Okay, guys, you're so close now, okay? All right, then 90 seconds, and then we kick it. Just one last minute of this third 5-minute sector. Come on, you're so close to the end of this 5 minutes. And then it's just that last drive to the line. Stay strong, guys. Keep that message positive. You're gonna do this. "30 seconds, and if we had the afterburners on now, 30 seconds, and then we're hyperdrive time, okay?" Bear in mind it is still 5 minutes long, so it's not a sprint from the go. That sprint comes at the end, but let's get ready to turn the wick up. Got a big 5-minute effort in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go then, guys. Come on. Let's lift it. Let's drive it all the way to the line now. 5 minutes of hard work, and then you're done, okay? Keep on going. Push, guys, lift it, lift it, lift it. Come on, come on. You can do this. Let's finish off really nice and strong. That's the first minute down. We've got 4 more to go. You can do anything for 4 minutes, guys. Come on, let's throw the kitchen sink at it. That's an English expression. Apologies if that doesn't come across. It basically means just give it everything. Big final 3 minutes coming up. Don't let your legs get the better of you, okay? Keep driving, keep fighting, keep battling. 3 minutes, come on guys, you can do this. We're approaching halfway through this final 5-minute sector. Approaching just 2.5 minutes to go. Absolutely no letting off now, come on. Let's drive it all the way to the finish line. 2.5 minutes. Ready? Coming up to 2 minutes to go. Let's lift it again. Come on, 2 minutes, guys. When we get to 1 minute to go, we're just going to let loose. Everything you got for the final 60 seconds, but let's just keep driving for now. We are well above that aerobic threshold I expect right now. Burning through those anaerobic energy systems I was talking about earlier. But that doesn't matter. It's all about getting that FTP as high as possible. 90 seconds. $15. Okay, let's get ourselves ready. Lift that leg speed. Let's get ready to drop into that big heavy gear and just smash those pedals for 60 seconds. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go then, guys. Come on. Drive it. 60 seconds, everything you've got. Do not hold anything back now. Push, 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 push all the way to the end. 45 to go. Nearly there, nearly there. Keep going. When we get to 20 seconds to go, I want you to sprint. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last 20 seconds sprint. Come on, guys. Push, push, push. Everything you've got now. Final few seconds. All the way to the end. Don't stop just yet. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes, guys. Yes. Don't worry if you're a little bit behind. Don't worry. Keep on going. I'll leave the music going. Really well done, guys. As that prompt just said, remember to have a good old stretch after this session. Otherwise, you are going to seize up like a creaky hinge tomorrow. Really well done, guys. You can relax. You can relax. Well done. Good job. Okay. So that's going to give us an idea of our FTP, guys. And just remember what I was saying earlier about if you've had a bit of a layoff, maybe that FTP might have dropped. That's okay. That's just reflective of where you're at the moment. But equally, if that FTP has increased significantly, really well done. You all have earned it. You've all had a big old session. That's, I think, so let me just check what TSS that is. So that's about 74, 75 TSS, if you're familiar with that terminology. That's basically an attempt to quantify how hard the session is. So normally our Wednesday sessions are between sort of 65 and 80 TSS. So you're pretty high on that scale for a session like that, guys. Okay, really well done. Just take your time. Get the fluids back on board. Spin the legs up. Try not to stop pedaling completely. You want to try and flush some of that lactate out your muscles. Okay. Let's have a nice, easy cool down. Oh, man. I really hope you've all gotten what you wanted out of that, guys. Even if you're doing a sweet spot session, that's a really solid 20-minute effort. Even at sweet spot, you know, that's a proper time trialing effort. But if guys doing the FTP test, I really hope you've gotten what you wanted out of that. And you're feeling good about, well, maybe not good, but good about yourself. So guys, I'll be sticking around for another, I'll be sticking around until the end and hopefully a couple minutes afterwards. So if anyone's got any questions, I will be around. Otherwise, you can email us at info@riak.fitness or drop us a message on social media. But as I say, there is an article on FTP, how all the different types of testing, how to improve it, etc., etc. And that's on our website in the training articles section on the RIAK online page. Don't worry too much about that. I can't imagine you're too keen to hear the words FTP anymore after that. Let's just take another couple of minutes, spinning up the legs, cooling down. Always really important to have a cool down after a set like that, just to flush some of the waste products out your legs. But that's the first session in our Discovery series. And I think it's fair to say we started quite big, but don't worry, they're not all as brutal as that. The second session we have a speed endurance session. So that's going to be kind of just assessing your ability to repeat high-powered efforts. It's a tough session, but nothing compares to an FTP test and the grim nature of it. Okay, so just another minute and 20 seconds, just relaxing. Well done, everyone. Oh man, you've earned yourself a big old dinner, or depending on where you are in the world, a big old meal, and if it's appropriate, maybe even a beer. Excellent stuff, guys. Keep drinking, keep getting the fluids on board, keep spinning up the legs. If you need a stretch routine, just remember there's a few stretch routines on our website in the where are they? In the know-how section on the RIAK online page, I believe, or you can find them if you have a look on our social media. They're buried away a little bit on the social media, but we do have a couple of stretch routines. Really important to stretch after a big set like this, and after every session really. Always helps with the motivation if you're not still feeling stiff and achy after the last one. Just helps with consistency, and obviously important injury prevention benefits of stretching. Last few seconds, last 10 seconds, and then you're free. Not that you can't leave any time, but that is the end of the session, guys. Really well done. That's session 1 of the Discovery series done. Excellent work. And I look forward to seeing you guys at the next session. If you've got any questions, as I say, I'll stick around and answer anything. But really well done. Well done, guys.